The Coliseum back to its original 70s glory. What a scene in the East Bay. And we're underway in the John Madden Legacy game. And he'll go down as this drive will start at the 25-yard line. So it's the NFC stars who will get the ball first. And Charles, as we alluded to, we've got a different era of coach on each sideline. So the man coaching this NFC squad, we'll call him Young John Madden. This is a coach who was trying to establish a foothold in the NFL and on the cusp of doing it very successfully.
Yeah, you think back to that period, those early days as the coach of the Raiders, the late 60s in the AFL and then in the NFL in the early 70s. Coach was a guy who was ahead of his time. The Raiders were one of the first teams to have mini camps, one of the first to film practice because he wanted to practice coaching as much as he could. And his teams, they were successful right from the start of his head coaching tenure.
That one good for 37 yards.
Execution was one of their watchwords leading up to this one. And on that play, able to execute brilliantly here on this opening drive.
So the big play means just like that, they'll operate from the red zone now on first down. And between the last two plays, they moved it over half the length of the football field.
Well, there's plenty of real estate for him to maneuver on that run, and let's face it, it shouldn't be a surprise. He's one of the better backs in the league. Had to come into this game with the idea, slow him down, otherwise it's going to be a long out.
And he'll get in. He's over for the touchdown. Brett Favre scoring on the sneak from a yard out. And the NFC takes it all the way down the field to score on their opening drive. And they do exactly what they wanted to. Opening drive, they get into the end zone. They do it on the ground.
And not only is the person lugging the ball happy, of course, because he got it into the end zone. How about the offensive linemen and receivers who are blocking for him? They have to feel great about themselves, sticking it in the end zone on a running play.
So with the missed PAT in his rearview mirror, he goes back out to kick this one off. Dante Hall going to bring it out of the end zone. And in hindsight, probably should have taken a knee as he only gets this out to the 16-yard line. So, Charles, as mentioned, we've got another Coach Madden over here on the AFC sideline. Of course, his Raiders, members of the AFC West. So this is a conference he battled in for his entire career. And you think about the landscape of the NFL as he was getting into the back half of his tenure. It was a golden era for coaches. You had Don Shula, Tom Landry, Chuck Noll, Bud Grant. But it was John Madden who had the best winning percentage of them all, CD. 759, the best ever.
Brandon, it's hard to believe he could be so successful in the conference with all those great teams. The Steelers won 4 Super Bowls. The Dolphins won 2 and were a mainstay in the playoffs. The Colts were tough. The Broncos came on late and went to a Super Bowl themselves. But against Hall of Fame coaches, John Madden's record, 36-16-2. That's pretty incredible. His Raiders were a factor each and every year.
So as we mentioned at the top, let's take you through the life of John Madden. And you know, it's very fitting that we're here back in the Bay Area, not just because John's so associated with Raider football, but also because this was where he spent his formative years.
Yeah, he grew up over in Daly City with his buddy John Robinson, who would also become an NFL head coach. He played his high school ball at Jefferson High, eventually wound up playing tackle at the University of Oregon and later Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Played well enough that in 1958, he was a 21st round draft pick of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's right, the draft had 30 rounds then.
And this will be stopped at the 44. That one good for 7 yards. Charles, you mentioned Coach was a 21st round draft pick back in 1958. Was the Philadelphia Eagles who selected him. But unfortunately for John, knee problems, they just continued to dog him. He was hurt in his first training camp. Actually never saw the field as a player in the NFL. But it was still during his time with the Eagles. You and I were talking about this before going on air, that you could start to see the light bulb going on for what his career path might entail.
And it went on in a big way, didn't it? Because While he was rehabbing his knee, he started to spend a lot of time breaking down film with the Eagles, with quarterback Norm Van Brocklin, the future Hall of Famer and future head coach in the NFL. Remember, Norm Van Brocklin coached with the Falcons, he coached with the Vikings. And was there during that time. I think Coach Madden realized his love of football and love for teaching, combining all that together, and that meant being a football coach. So in 1960, began his coaching career at a small college south of San Luis Obispo called Allen Hancock, and then later at San Diego State University under another legendary coach, the guy who could throw it around pretty well, Don Coryell.
Just a net of 34 there following a punt of 44 yards. And the NFC will take over 1st and 10. The NFC offense coming out here. And you know, Charles, Coach Madden always said that if he had one drive to win a game and he had to pick a quarterback, he would pick Kenny Stabler. But I think if you asked him to omit any of his Raiders players, there's a good chance the guy he'd select would be Brett Favre. And he's free going down the left side. It's a foot race. Touchdown. Randy Moss, 73 yards. And the NFC strikes quickly for 6. Another impressive drive, so they're 2 for 2, 2 touchdowns. Charles, a great start to this ball game for them.
And one of the words that's really worked.
Oh, they flip it to the kicker. He looks like he's going to throw it. Anderson loses the football, and that's picked up by the AFC. He's at the 40, the 20. And can you believe this? It's 2 points the other way on the fumble return. Following the touchdown, here's Anderson to kick it away. Here comes Hall. He's going to bring it out. And he will be brought down here inside the 20. Good coverage as he's dropped at the 17. Now the AFC making their way out, and it's one of Coach's favorites, another local guy, Tom Brady, who will be at the controls. And boy, Coach always admired the way number 12 could run an offense, and especially his ability to stay calm under pressure.
Tom Brady is a guy who's always looking downfield. He never looks at the rush. He hangs in the pocket, and he makes a throw. He's a cool guy, and he's a tough guy. Let me tell you, there's no one calmer in the pocket than Tom Brady.
And I know that Coach has a great appreciation for Tom Brady, who turned 45 back on August 3rd, because Coach coached a guy like him in George Blanda, who played a long time in the NFL. In this game, it features legends and active players. Tom Brady qualifies as both.
The threat of a second straight punt to start the game is looming as they come up 3rd and 10. Now Brady. That ball nearly intercepted, but he could not hang on. Oh, pick there certainly would have been nice. Instead, at least it'll be 4th down.
This defense has certainly played well so far in this game, and the coverage has been tight on just about every throw. Forced a few here so far in this game, and now it brings up 4th down.
A good kick, 48 yards, 4 on the return. And it will be 1st and 10 as they take over. The NFC heading back out. Hall of Famer Randy Moss a part of this offense. And Coach Madden, boy, he always appreciated the ferociousness with which number 84 attacked the football in the air.
As Randy Moss says, just chunk it up there, dog, and I'll go get it.
And Coach, boy, did he ever go get it. Over 15,000 receiving yards, 156 touchdowns. And how about this? From his rookie year of 1998 until 2009, those were his prime seasons, right? He led the league in touchdowns 5 times, but even more so, he showed us all how to go up and get it. Great body control. No one's ever done it better playing the
Charles, you know, it was in the early 1960s that a young John Madden made the acquaintance of the owner of the Oakland Raiders, one Al Davis, of course, and the two, they really bonded, would become one of the best owner-coach duos in NFL history. And to take it a step further, Al Davis became someone who John referred to as his best friend.
Yeah, 1967, Brandon, Al Davis hired Coach Madden to be a linebackers coach. Remember, this was still the AFL at that point. We had not merged totally with the NFL. And Coach Madden, he paid dividends almost immediately. Helped the Raiders win the AFL title in 1968. And that meant a date with the Green Bay Packers in what was now known as Super Bowl II. But by 1969, at the age of 32, just 32, Brandon, John Madden assumed the mantle of head coach of the Oakland Raiders. And what a ride he, the Raiders, and the NFL were about to go on.
Going to try to throw for it with Montana. And it's incomplete. They cannot convert, and they turn it over. Boy, a real head-scratcher there. And the AFC is going to get the football back in great field position. So they take a big, big chance here in their own territory. And you think the coach may have some questions to answer?
Yeah, and, you know, normally we focus on the media, right? The social media barrage that he's going to get for this one. How about on his own sideline and in his locker?
And that is caught for an AFC touchdown. Andre Reed, 35 yards. And the AFC able to cut it to within a score. So that pretty conclusively, I might add, shows you the perils of going for it and not making it on fourth down. One play, touchdown.
Yeah, and I've got to put this on the man in charge, the head coach. He made the decision to go for it. To me, when punting was the only decision to make, and it backfired on him in a big way.
Vinatieri connecting on the extra point, and the lead is down to a field goal. And here's Vinatieri now to kick it away after the touchdown. Hester to return from his end zone. And he'll be stopped right around where he would have been had he gone down to a knee, maybe a yard shy of there at the 24. Ready to begin their next drive here, the NFC offense. As this offense gets ready here for this drive, Charles, you still wonder about that prior drive. Went for it on fourth down in their own territory, didn't get it, and then that led to a touchdown on the other side.
And I don't mind the aggressiveness. In fact, I'm usually a huge fan of it, but I just want teams to always weigh risk and reward. To me, too early in this game because reward just wasn't big enough to go for it there in case they failed. Now the pressure back on their offense. Themselves up, and they gave the touchdown that was just given up.
Charles, you talked about John Madden and the Raiders going on a ride. Well, try these numbers on for size. In 10 seasons as a head coach, the Raiders won their division 7 times. They finished second the other 3 times, and he became the youngest coach to amass 100 career regular season victories and is still, to this day, the franchise leader in wins.
And when you think about it, that's where that rivalry with Kansas City really took root. As did the expression commitment to excellence. And boy, was it personified by the players who played for Coach Madden. On offense, how about quarterback Kenny Stabler, wide receiver Cliff Branch, wide receiver Fred Biletnikoff, tight end Dave Casper, to name a few. How about those great linemen he had? Center Jim Otto, guard Gene Upshaw, tackle Art Shell, all of them in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And guys on the defensive side of the ball, the Mad Stork himself, Ted Hendricks, Willie Brown, John Matuzak, Otis Sistrunk, and Big Ben Davidson. So many great players, so many great memories.
Oh, now he'll try and chuck it deep left side. And this one nearly picked off. Kind of surprising to see a defender of his caliber let it get away, but get away it does, and it's second down. Charles, you think about all the success that John Madden had as an NFL head coach, and he had plenty, and we talked about it, including the 10 straight winning seasons, a Super Bowl title. But like any great coach, he also suffered through a few tough losses along the way as well.
And Brandon, those tough losses came in high-stakes games because they always had such great success. Think about it this way. 6 times in his 10 years.
Touchdown! Randy Moss with his second touchdown here in this first half. And they are able to add on to their advantage. What a first half he is compiling here. He's already over 100 yards receiving and now 2 touchdowns, CD.
Brandon, you know I don't like to play the game where you start projecting when you're at a certain point. But let's face it, he's off to a tremendous start. So 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. I don't think anything's out of the question right now. He's blowing up coverages. You've got to double him every snap. Otherwise, he's going to defeat you on almost every play.
Right after the touchdown to extend their lead, now maybe opening the door a little bit there by allowing starting field position at the 40. Well, you don't see that often. He just mishit it, and it goes out of bounds.
Well, I know sitting up here, and I'm looking at you, and you're looking at me, and I know we're both thinking the same thing. Isn't it easy enough to keep it between the sidelines? Because unless you're intentionally doing it for some reason, but that's a costly mishit, and now you put your team in a bad spot.
Good starting field position for them here as they come up 1st and 10 at their own 42. To throw is Brady. Got a man, it's Andre Reed. The CD, we spoke of some of the Raiders' tough playoff losses through the decade of the 70s, but for one shining season, they put it all together, and that was 1976. You remember a 13-1 regular season, a memorable playoff win over New England. They dominated the Steelers 24-7 in the AFC title game, and then a meeting with the Minnesota Vikings in Super Bowl 11.
Oh, Brandon, what a game that was down at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. A gorgeous 53-degree day, perfect for football. Raiders get out to a 16-0 lead at the half, and Clarence Davis, no relation, although I would certainly claim him, strong on the ground, 137 yards rushing. How about Freddie Blitnikoff, the MVP of that game, catching everything that came his way? Kenny Stabler running the offense with precision, and we all remember the one that sealed it. The grand old man himself, Willie Brown, with the laser-focused eyes, picking off Fran Tarkenton and taking it 75 yards for a touchdown. 32-14 the final score. Raiders had their first Super Bowl title, and we got the iconic shot of Coach Madden being lifted on the shoulder pads of his players and carried aloft as a Super Bowl champion.
So, Charles, after that Super Bowl title in the 76 season, the Raiders again advanced to the AFC Championship game the following year, but they fell to the Denver Broncos on New Year's Day by a field goal, and that ended their chances for back-to-back titles. And then in 1978, after missing out on the playoffs in that season, John Madden, he actually stepped down as coach of the Raiders January 4th, 1979.
Yeah, and that was a surprise for the league because remember, Brandon, he coached 10 seasons in the NFL, but he'd put everything he had into the Oakland Raiders, into being a head football coach, into guiding, mentoring, loving his players. And he just sort of felt like it was the right time to step away. And even though he was just 42 when he left, even though there would be overtures for a return to coaching in the future, many overtures, he never returned to the sideline.
Even though he didn't, we all know his work with the NFL was far from finished, and a lot of chapters of the John Madden story were still left to be written. Now Brady again. Over the middle, he's got Tim Brown. And he gets it inside the 10 to the 9. They're able to convert on 3rd down, and that sets up a 1st and goal.
And this is an offense in need of getting a few good things to happen. Here's one right here. They've had their share of struggles in key moments, but that's a nice throw and nice work after the throw. And they're set up now with a 1st and goal.
And that nearly a turnover, but it's incomplete. Oh, fortunate to retain possession there, and it's 2nd down. Brady now to throw. Got his tight end. That's complete. It's Gonzalez. Now the NFC going to call the first of their 3 timeouts as the clock will stop with 20 seconds to go in the first half. They've been denied touchdowns in the red zone twice already. Here comes 3rd and goal. Here's Allen. And he is going to lose yardage here. That'll make it 4th down after a loss of 1. So they won't get a touchdown, but here's a chance to at least get 3 to end the first half. Coming up in the second half, we'll run through John's post-coaching triumphs. But for now, we present a special tribute to the man of the hour, narrated by the Raiders' own Trey Mosley. The AFC going to get the football first here as we are back underway from Oakland in the John Madden Legacy game. Well, certainly not what they wanted out of the locker room here as they'll start defensively at the 40-yard line. So now the possession will begin at the 35 after the errant kickoff.
Well, that's certainly one way to avoid a dangerous kick returner, I suppose, but you are giving up extra yardage, that's for sure. Because if you put it out of the end zone, they start at the 25. So at a minimum, you're giving up 10 yards to the offense.
On play action, now Brady. Well, the NFC pressure a little too much as they get home for the sack. Jack Youngblood just would not be denied. That's a loss of 7. Now following the sack, they'll look to make amends on a second down and 17. Well, Brady gets away with one. Lucky, could have been intercepted, but it falls to the ground. This offense in desperate need of a conversion as they come up on third down. Here's Brady. And that almost intercepted. Oh, they would have loved to have their first pick of the game right there, but at least it does get them to fourth down. So coming up empty here to start the third quarter. Already 2 scores down. Got to be careful.
Yeah, I did notice, though, that the captain of the defense patted the quarterback on the helmet on his way out, pretty much letting him know, we know the pressure's on us. We're going to go out there and try and hold serve for you while you figure it out over here on the sidelines.
It's a return of 4 following a 42-yard punt. And they will take over 1st and 10. The offense for the NFC ready to get their next drive started. They'll throw on 1st down with Favre. Flushed out right. That's going to be caught by Moss. And now off to the races down the right side. And all the way in for the touchdown. Randy Moss, 75 yards. And his guys now an extra point away from taking a 3-score lead.
And that's a drive that makes everyone happy on that bench because they accomplish exactly what they set out to do. Take care of the football, eat up a little clock, end up in the end zone.
Oh, they flip it to the kicker. He looks like he's going to throw it.
Let me go ahead and show my age a little bit. I liked it when they would fake it from the 3-yard line, right? When you'd line up, go ahead and, oh, there's a fake, and he's going to get 2. That's great. But from the 15... the risk-reward, it's just not there.
So risky to get 15 yards on a fake. Well, you see the result right there.
Yeah, I know these young whippersnappers are trying to do different things in this game, but let's go back to old reliable. Kick the ball through the post.
Get off my lawn.
That's darn right.
And this will be broken up and incomplete. Now a penalty flag down, and they may be going backward here. So apparently some grabbing of the jersey there on the O-line.
Yeah, just look in the interior, and that's where the penalty occurred.
They're backed up here with a 1st and 20 now after the holding penalty. They'll run with Allen. And he'll lose yardage on this one back to the 13. That was Dion that time flying in to make the tackle behind the line. So now, Charles, to pick up the story we've been telling, John Madden at 42. He had just completed a 10-year stint as the coach of the Raiders. He wants to step away a bit from the grind of coaching, but he doesn't want to step away from the game of football. So he ends up signing on with CBS in 1979 to try his hand at broadcasting. And much like his coaching career, he was pretty much an instant success.
Partner, he really connected with the people right from the start, and people may not remember.
And now a fumble. Brady loses the football. And it looks like the NFC is going to have it, and they do.
That feels like an accumulation of the pressure we've seen all game. I mean, he's been on the turf a whole lot because of sacks. Eventually, something else happens as well, and this time it was a turnover.
Yeah, caught up to him. Smith. Going to be hit and met at the line of scrimmage. They get him down at the 3. It's a gain of a yard, and it'll set up 2nd and goal.
And now defensively, you have to look at this like the game's on the line. It's just the 3rd quarter, but another touchdown given up here could really spell an end to their chances. So they need to toughen up and keep them out of the end zone.
No gain on the play there. They're going to need to come up with something better here on 3rd and goal. Now, they'd really like to make the short field pay off. We'll see if they can, but this is 3rd and goal. Try to punch it in with Smith, and he will carry this one in. Touchdown, NFC. Emmitt Smith, a 3-yard touchdown run. And the NFC able to capitalize on that fumble recovery and turn it into 6. And they would not be denied on the ground, powering it in just one play after they got stopped short.
And how about how many tight ends are on the field? Because in today's NFL, we think of the tight end more as a pass catcher. But this group, they tell them you've got to be able to run block to stay on this team. And they committed to it and got it done right there.
Following the touchdown, here's Anderson to kick it away. And a mistake, a surprising mistake there in the kicking game as he sends that one out of bounds. Well, not one you see often there as he fails to keep it between the sidelines, and that is a penalty every time, and going to give this offense better field position.
And it's every kickoff guy's nightmare, isn't it? Because you don't see yourself doing this, and most of the time you don't. It's absolutely a mishit, and now your team pays the price. Bad field position for your defense.
Brady now on 1st down. And oh, that nearly their first pick of the game, but it falls down to the ground, incomplete. Brady's incompletion on 1st down leads to a 2nd and 10. They'll drop to throw. That's going to be caught downfield by Reed. And he's going to get this down to the 35-yard line. So for Coach Madden, Charles, by 1981, his broadcasting career is really taking off. He's elevated to the network's #1 booth that calls all the big matchups. And he gets the plum assignment of calling Super Bowl 16, 49ers and Bengals, and he's teamed up with Pat Summerall. And that pairing ultimately will go on to be one of the most influential in sports broadcasting history.
Influential not just in us listening to them. Remember, they went on and called 8 Super Bowls together. But how they put together kind of the template that all of us broadcasters follow now. Sitting down with the head coaches and the quarterbacks and the stars of each team before a ball game to get extra information. And the way that those two paired together, Pat Summerall, short, concise, to the point, and turned it over to Coach Madden to fill in all the big details.
Now a timeout called for by the defense. It's just their first, so 2 remaining as they burn one here in this 3rd quarter. The 25-yard line is what they need here. This is 3rd down. Now Brady. And oh, that's going to wind up incomplete. Nearly their first pick of the game, but it does bring up 4th down. And did he have enough? He did. He kept it online and managed to tuck it into the bottom right corner. And they get a little bit closer here as the lead's down to 3 touchdowns. These kickers now, it used to be that a 50-plus yarder was cause for celebration, now seemingly automatic.
Yeah, isn't it funny when we prepare for a game, when you look at the backgrounds of these kickers, it's interesting, isn't it, to find out they were all-state quarterbacks, receivers, defensive backs, all-state wrestlers, right? Baseball players. We're finding athletes all along, and now they're just specialists putting it through the posts.
Ready to begin their next drive here, the NFC offense. And now you've got the clock winding down here in the 3rd quarter. Your 3 scores to the good. What's your approach on this drive?
Too early to fully commit to playing the clock game. Yet at the same time, you're also not going pell-mell like you would 2-minute offense. This is what NFL offenses call 4-minute football. take the clock out of the game a little bit, wind it down, but at the same time, keep advancing the ball down the field.
And he fumbled it. It's on the ground. So through 3 quarters of the John Madden legacy game, it's the NFC Stars and young Coach Madden on top. And we'll be back to the Coliseum after this. To throw is Favre, escaping the pressure right. Man open, it's Moss, complete. And he'll be taken down, but not before they work it across midfield. As you mentioned, CD, talking about John Madden, the broadcaster, he called 8 Super Bowls with Pat Summerall, 3 more with Al Michaels later in his career. He spent nearly 3 decades in the booth all told. And not nowhere to go here. He lost the football. And that's picked up by the AFC. And he'll return it to the 24-yard line.
You and I have been around teams, and they all have goals for games, don't they? And every team we've ever talked to says what?
No turnover.
Don't turn the ball over. 0. And they were that close to getting it done. Won't cost them today, but they'll hate that when they're watching the game tape.
And he'll be brought down at about the 23-yard line. Now, CD, we did get a little ahead of ourselves talking about John Madden, the broadcaster in the 90s and 2000s, because there was another product during that time period that he became quite famous for, and it's something that you and I know a little bit about, and that's the video game that bears his name. Originally John Madden Football when it was first released back in the late 1980s, and now known the world over simply as Madden.
And Coach saw this originally as a way to teach the game of football. The early designs were for a 7-on-7 game, but he said no chance. He would not sign off.
Touchdown! Tony Gonzalez, 23 yards for the touchdown. And the AFC able to use the short field as they cash in for 6 points. Vinatieri now to tack on the PAT. And the lead will be cut down to 14. So that drive, 4 plays. And it ends with an AFC touchdown. And here's Vinatieri now to kick it away after the touchdown. Hester to return from his end zone. And only able to get this to the 19, so probably should have opted for the touchback. The offense for the NFC ready to get their next drive started. They've got the 2-score lead. It looked low. They fumbled last possession, led to a touchdown. So while things look good here at this stage in the 4th, they got to be careful.
They definitely do, because they've actually brought them back into it, haven't they? They've given them hope once again. Their purpose on this drive, squash that hope one more time.
One play has him up past the 40 already, and another 1st and 10. Now Favre. And this nearly an interception, but it's incomplete. Well, a turnover really would have helped him there, but not to be. So, CD, you look at the accumulation of John Madden's achievements in the world of football, the coaching success, the Super Bowl title, the incredible career as a broadcaster with 12 Emmy Awards, Madden the video game. It was very fitting back in 2006 that John Madden got the call to be enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
A more deserving person you will not find. He gave an incredible speech on that day, Brandon. So many of his former Raider players were in attendance. He talked about how he envisioned that when the last person turns off the lights in the hall every night, that the bus talk football amongst themselves. And what a discussion that might be.
Yeah, he finished his speech by saying, today feels like the second time in my life that I'm being carried off on the shoulders of others. Yet instead of off the field, it's into the Hall of Fame. This has been the sweetest ride of them all. Now, you think about John Madden in his retirement years post-broadcasting. He was about as active as most people are in their working years. I mean, he continued to play a key role on the NFL's competition committee. He was available to a wide range of people as a tutor, as a mentor. He continued to teach the game of football to all who would listen. And Charles, as you and I know, he even continued to provide input, a lot of input on the Madden video game.
Yeah, I know a lot of folks that design and build this game certainly look forward to their yearly visits out to the Madden compound that he had out in the East Bay. They pitch the new aspects of each year's game to him, get his feedback, and then get to sit back and spend 6 hours with him on a Sunday, watching football and listening to him tell stories and talk even more ball. It had to be an incredible experience for all involved.
That one looks like he'll throw here. Flush to his right. And this nearly an interception, but it's incomplete. Well, a turnover really would have helped him there, but not to be. Second and 10 now from the 27. Throwing is far. Throw right side, going to be complete to Moss. And he'll be marked down right at the 15-yard line.
I can't help but chuckle a little bit because at this point, it can't be a surprise to anyone in the building who's going to get the ball. They just keep feeding him over and over, and he just keeps on delivering.
Line of scrimmage, the 15. It's 1st and 10. Inside the red zone here. They'll look to throw. And the timing a bit off that time as that one falls to the ground.
Well, the connection they've had has been excellent today, but not on that snap. I think he was asking just a little too much as he extended that play, hoping for one more completion with him.
On second down, here's Smith. And there is nowhere for him to cut back as he's taken down in the backfield. It'll go as a loss of a yard, so now they deal with 3rd and 11.
Sometimes you just sit back and marvel at what he can do defensively. Speed, strength, quickness, he's the whole package. And that package just wrapped up the runner for a loss.
And not even back to the line of scrimmage this time as they're on him quickly once more. And a loss of 3 to bring up 4.
They have 3 tight ends in that formation. That's almost a universal sign that they're planning to run the football. But how about the defense there? They met force with force and caused a stack up behind the line of scrimmage and threw him for a loss.
That is caught. It's Calvin Johnson. And unable to break away. They stop him a few yards shy. They're coming out with a jumbo package to start the drive. Mahomes. He finds his man complete. That's Gonzalez. Now the AFC going to use their final timeout of the half as they'll stop it with 25 ticks remaining on the clock. Mahomes. And oh, that nearly their first pick of the game, but it falls down to the ground incomplete. So after the incompletion on first, now 2nd and 10. Mahomes will throw. Connecting with Hill. And he'll get him a first down up past the 40 as the clock ticks on. Now the defense will burn their 3rd and final timeout. And as the two teams talk it over on their respective sidelines, we take a break. Mahomes. And that will be incomplete with a clock down now to 13 seconds.
My first thought is surprise because that's one of the better tight ends around, and I've seen him pull in balls like this before. But how about a little credit to the defense forcing that incompletion?
Incomplete, and we're down to 8 seconds now.
A lot of practice time, a lot of thinking goes into 2-minute drills, even on the defensive side. So now you want to make sure the guys understand. Continue to be aggressive, but make sure you're smart in doing so.
And That's going to wind up incomplete. Nearly their first pick of the game, but it does bring up 4th down.
Late game situation, things seem to be unraveling just a little bit, and that's when you start forcing the football, mainly out of necessity. Fortunate that one wound up incomplete, nearly picked off.
Now they go for it on 4th, but this one is going to wind up. So it's a win here for the NFC. Just an incredible afternoon of football and remembering the life of John Madden. And before we go, one final message. And for all of us at